Welcome back. Well, children are very sensitive to our criticism, our voice, and obviously our body positioning.
They just want to please us. Here to give us some advice on how to stop yelling at our kids is Kelly Olson from the Village Family Service Center. Thank you so much for coming in today. It'd be easy to sit here and say, I've never yelled. Parents don't yell. In the heat of the moment, it happens.
It does. It does. And I think that's my first tip, is just to acknowledge that we're human beings as parents, and we're going to make mistakes. We're going to have bad days, and we're going to lose our cool. And so just acknowledging that as a parent and knowing that you can't always be on your game. And so my first tip is just to have that knowledge, but then also to have the insight to know that when you've lost your cool with your child, to be able to say you're sorry and have it be a genuine sorry, an apology. A lot of times we say things like, you know, Mommy's sorry, I screamed at you, but that's what you get when you act like that. That's not a good apology. A good apology is taking ownership of your behavior and not relating it to your child's behavior. I'm sorry, I lost my cool, I screamed, you looked scared, I apologize for that. Mommy's having a bad day. I'll try hard to not to do that again. We sometimes as parents don't think that we can acknowledge mistakes, that somehow if we do that with our kids, that's somehow disempowering us. But really, it's really empowering us quite a bit, and it's teaching our children how to deal with conflict as well.
A great lesson. So do you have some advice for how to, you know, alternatives to yelling then? Because you know, I have strong-willed children. It's not always just a naughty parent or a naughty child. Two strong-willed people sometimes need to resolve conflict in a different way. I mean, how do you step back and still handle the situation?
Well, it's important to know what your triggers are or your hot buttons are, because sometimes you'll respond in a heightened way because it's your trigger as well. And so I'd encourage parents to take a break, walk away. You don't always have to respond in the moment. You can say, I'm going to think about this for a minute, or right now I'm very angry, I need to think about this, I need to monitor my response, and I'll come back and talk about your behavior in a minute. You know, sometimes we think that in order to nip that behavior in the bud, we have to respond right then. But we can, you know, depending on the age, we can tell our child that we're going to come back to this conversation. Mommy needs to take a break, because that's teaching our kids as well that sometimes they might need to take a break as well.
Mama and Dada.
Yes, yes.
And because sometimes I know my family knows when Mama uses her "I'm not happy" voice, but dads even more have you know, a lower, scarier,
the daddy voice,
a scarier voice.
Yes, yes.
I mean, is it the tone that can sometimes really scare children as well?
Yes, like you said in the beginning, is that children are very sensitive, and so sometimes we'll notice that they will say, "Stop screaming at me! Stop yelling at me." And nobody's yelling and nobody's screaming because they are so hypersensitive, and they're very apt to be pleasing us as children, and they want us to be happy, and they're watching our face and our tone and the fact that you sat up straight, and they're watching all of those things, and they want to please us, and so they're very hypersensitive to all that. And so just watching those kinds of things, but again, you know, having a conversation with your child about, you know, when, you know, their behaviors, and, you know, having having your rules and consistent rules. Obviously there's things to set up ahead of time before you have like those anger outbursts as children, but then also as parents as well.
Such a great conversation to have today. It's important to take a step back, think about it.
Yep.
I love it. Thank you so much for coming. I love it and I hate it at the same. All right, good stuff. Stay with us. Coming up next, some heart-healthy recipes.